You know how we're always told to find balance in our lives? Well, what if that wasn't just some nice-sounding advice? Today, we're diving into Crippin's theory, a framework that makes a pretty staggering claim that balance is actually a universal, measurable constant, a hidden geometric rule that shapes everything, from the way a galaxy swirls to the way your own mind works. So that brings us to the big question, right? Could there really be a single, hidden equation that governs harmony across the entire universe? A formula that connects the vast physics of the cosmos with the intricate geometry of our own consciousness? It's a huge idea. So let's see what kind of answer this theory comes up with. And here it is. The theory boils it all down to this one single formula, the Atlas T equation. It looks simple, right? It says that T, which is the universal constant of balance, is just the product of three key things: P for proportion, the Greek letter kappa for phase, and R for resonance. This little equation is the mathematical heart of this entire idea. Now, this is a really crucial point. This theory completely redefines what we think of as balance. It's not about perfect, static stillness, like a perfectly balanced rock. Not at all. It's an active, dynamic rhythm, a constant, harmonious give and take that it calls reciprocity. Think of it more like perfectly meshed gears, always moving in tune with each other. So how does this universal equation actually work? In this first part, we're going to break down the math and really figure out what proportion, phase, and resonance actually mean. To make this way less abstract, just think about running a marathon. It's a perfect analogy. Proportion, or P, is the pure geometry of your body. It's your optimal stride length. But a perfect stride is useless without timing, right? That's phase, or kappa, your pacing, your rhythm. And finally, resonance, R, is your sustained energy, that internal coherence that just keeps you going mile after mile. When you get all three of those things just right, you achieve T, a perfectly balanced run. Okay, so where does this balance even come from in the first place? The theory suggests it's born from a perfect cosmic tension it calls equal force symmetry. On one side, you've got the reality field. That's all the expressive energy and matter we can see and measure. And on the other, there's a conceptual force it calls the black matter field, which acts like a container, providing structure and stability. Real balance, that T value, happens when these two forces are in a perfect dynamic dance. So the theory goes from the scale of the cosmos right down to the most personal scale imaginable, our own consciousness. So how in the world does this universal math translate into the geometry of our inner world? Well, the theory introduces what it calls the four primitives. Think of them as a geometric alphabet for our thoughts and emotions. A triangle, that's the sharp point of focused intention. A square embodies the fluid, flowing nature of emotional connection. A square provides that feeling of stability and solid structure. And a spiral represents the dynamic process of learning and growing. These shapes are basically the proposed building blocks of our mental state. So why does any of this matter? Well, on a neurological level, the goal is to get the brain's two key networks to harmonize. You can think of it as building a bridge between your wandering, daydreaming mind, that's the default mode network, and your focused, get-things-done mind, the task-positive network. Real mental coherence, the theory says, is when those two states stop fighting each other and start working totally in sync. All right, we've gone from the cosmos all the way into consciousness. Now let's zoom back out and see how this very same equation could literally build the world around us, through architecture, as a form of living mathematics. And this is where the connection becomes just so clear, it's brilliant. The theory actually maps its variables directly onto iconic architectural forms. The pyramid, with its fixed, stable, perfect geometry, is pure proportion. The ziggurat, with its stepped journey to the top, well, that represents the element of time, or phase. And the dome, which is designed to contain and amplify sound, is a perfect physical example of resonance.
Okay, get ready for one of V-theory's most surprising claims. It connects the geometry of human emotion to radio physics. Seriously. Engineers use this tool called a Smith chart to get rid of static and find a perfect signal in an antenna. This theory argues that the exact same math used to get that perfect radio transmission is analogous to the geometry we need for emotional coherence inside of us.
So if this math really is universal, what does that mean for our future? Let's take a look at the theory's grand vision for building a completely new reality. The theory actually proposes a blueprint for what it calls living ratio cities. I mean,
Just imagine cities designed not for endless, chaotic expansion, but for systemic balance. We're talking about architecture based on natural patterns like the Fibonacci sequence, circular transit that actually flows, and a core principle called the law of equal proportion, where every single man-made surface is balanced by a living green one.
The vision then expands to a planetary scale. It maps the Earth onto a symbolic 12-sided shape, a dodecahedron. Now, the theory proposes that these 12 zones aren't geological, but are energetic and cultural centers of gravity. It even suggests that ancient cultures might have intuitively built their monuments in alignment with this invisible harmonic grid.
So, if there are 12 nodes on the planet, what's the final, crucial piece of the puzzle? This is where the theory gets deeply, deeply human. It proposes that the 13th node is the human heart. It's our own personal tuning fork, the biological oscillator that lets each and every one of us synchronize our own internal balance with the geometry of the entire system.
And this leaves us with one final, thought-provoking question for you to take away. If your life right now is following a specific cosmic rhythm, what geometric shape would it be? Are you in a triangle of focus, a square of stability, or maybe a spiral of growth? It's a pattern that might be worth looking for.